Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Ottumwa City Council meeting. It's 5:40, so I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order, and Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Here.
Councilmember Hull. Councilmember Pope.
Here.
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Galloway.
Here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here. If everybody would stand, we're going to go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Phil, I believe you're going to take this first item.
Yes,
Want me to read it?
yes, please.
Potential consideration of resolution number 21, 2023, approval of release and settlement agreement between 1015 Regional Transit Agency and the city of Ottumwa, Iowa.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Mayor, and thank all of you for your patience. A little unorthodox start of the meeting, but we need to have a little conversation with the attorney, and so it was easiest to do that downstairs and then come up here for this. So just a quick synopsis, so everyone out there in the audience tonight and at home knows what we're talking about. It's resolution number 21, 2023. In February of 2021, the City Council approved a payment of $116,000 from the Transit Fund to pay out the remaining obligation from the transfer of transit services to 1015 Regional Transit Agency, or 1015. At the time, 1015 questioned that final payment and had not cashed that check. Dispute resulted in the filing of a suit by 1015, which has recently come to a conclusion with a proposed release and settlement agreement for the previous authorized $116,000 that would be paid out of the Transit Fund fund balance and would clear our obligation. So if the council approves this resolution that is referenced, it would be clearing up all the obligation to 1015, providing a clear release and settlement of that pending suit. And I'll entertain any questions.
Does council have any questions for Phil?
Okay, so just clarify that this is not an additional $116,000. That $116,000 that was previously approved had not been cashed, had not left our fund balance. This is recutting that check so they would be able to cash that. It's the same amount 2 years later.
Okay, if there's no other questions, do we have a motion to approve resolution number 21-2023?
So moved. Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is our consent agenda for tonight. Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Now we need a motion to approve tonight's city council agenda.
So moved. Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
The next item is City Administrator Phil Ross report to the council and citizens.
All right. Thank you, Honorable Mayor. So in recognition of the State of the Union address that is being given later tonight, I've revised the format for my report. The report tonight reflects upon my perspective of a few of the accomplishments that we've achieved as a community over the course of the past year. The highlights are grouped according to the four primary themes outlined in the 2040 Comprehensive Plan. And so it's kind of in bullet point format. I'm just going to run down those items. Under housing, construction of 108 units related to the Bonita Avenue development. The first building is complete and the remaining two are coming soon. We contracted with 1919 architects to create site plan prototypes and construction drawings for medium density infill and single family housing. And there was the establishment of Mission 500, which is a group that is out there to get 500 homes in the next 10 years. And so you hear it was that 108, they're off to a great start there. Under quality of life and community character, we had revised the animal ordinance last year. And part of that was to help with the humane treatment of animals and help provide better codification of that and assistance to law enforcement to carry that out. Established 3% franchise fee in gas and electric for municipal properties. Approved construction plans for City Hall HVAC and remodel. We adopted the Greater Ottumwa Park Plan, and we continue to look at potential riverfront development and to bring beautification to that area. Under growth, Cobblestone Hotel is under construction. Every day I drive past and see a little bit more being completed there. Hopkins Properties development is under construction. We constructed a new campground shower house, purchased the depot and clubhouse, and have contracted with Retail Strategies, which we're hoping is going to really help in the commercial industry area around the city and in the downtown focus as well. And finally, the fourth pillar is celebrating diversity. We've reestablished the local Human Rights Commission. The fire department has hired its first female firefighters. And we created a process for honorary streets, naming Dr. MLK Jr. Way, just outside here, and Madre Irene Munoz Way. So there's just a few of the accomplishments. I think it's been a busy year. It's been a great year. And there's a lot of things that are still in the pipeline and continuing to churn through. So I look forward to continued success in 2023.
Does council have any comments, questions for Phil? Okay, thank you for your report, and I would definitely agree. We've had a lot of positive accomplishments this last year, and looking forward to many more this coming year. The next item on the agenda is where I normally ask if any citizens would like to comment on any of tonight's agenda items. If you do want to do so, hopefully you've completed one of those little forms in the basket. We don't have any up here, so I don't know if anybody's wanting to speak on any agenda items tonight or not. Does anybody want to speak on any of the agenda items? Okay. The next item is public hearing.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving fiscal year 24 maximum property tax dollars.
I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing, and I believe, Phil, you're going to take the lead on this.
Yeah, we have that graphic. Okay. Ooh, can you blow it up just a little bit there? So this is just more for the benefit of people at home and then people that are sitting back there. One of the things that was created a few years ago by the state was, I guess, an added step in the budget process where municipalities are required to hold a public hearing and then propose a maximum tax levy. This is essentially creating a ceiling that the city cannot levy beyond what is established. We have to publish this, hold the public hearing, and then the council would approve that. The only other step to this is if, and that bottom number there is 0.02%, if the year-over-year maximum levy increases 2% or greater, that would require a 2/3 majority of council to approve the budget. So at 0.02%, that's almost flat. That would, a simple majority will approve the budget this year. So I just want to call that out as one other thing. A couple of things to note. The numbers that are highlighted there, $8.10, that's the general fund. That's already at its maximum. The event center or Bridgeview Center, that 13.5 cents, that's at its maximum. And the emergency levy at 27 cents is at its maximum. So those are the maximum statutory limits that we can have. The other numbers that are there, police and fire retirement, FICA and IPERS, other employee benefits, and the property and liability insurance, those numbers are variable. Those can be to whatever the actual amount is that we need to pay. So if the property insurance is going to go up next year, we would need to increase that to cover our cost. Alternatively, if we left the levy the same, we'd be taking that out of general fund or some other levy that we could appropriately do that. So the reason why that one is up higher, that's estimating an 8% increase in our property insurance costs. I haven't seen the final numbers on that yet, so we wanted to set a cap that is hopefully going to be enough to cover any increase. Police and fire retirement, there was a contribution change that was lowered, so the city is going to pay less, even considering any potential increased costs or wages. That number should still go down. And then FICA and IPERS is obviously tied to wages. We're projecting that to go up, and other employee benefits is health insurance, et cetera. And we're projecting, I think it's 8%. We're seeing increase in health insurance. So those are what those numbers are, and we're hoping that that is enough to cover all of those. The one other key piece to note here is the assessed valuation, and that's where we see some of these changes. If you look at the general fund, for example, last year we received almost $5.5 million from the general fund. That's at that same $8.10. This next year, we're projecting $5.3 million, and that is because of a change in the assessed valuation from $679 million last year to almost $661 million this year. And so that impacts all of those maximum dollar amounts, and why you see a little bit of a change there, or fluctuation. That obviously also is going to impact if we need $550,000 for property insurance and there's less assessed valuation, then that rate is going to be higher. So that's what you're seeing there. Are there any questions?
What do you think was the reason for the $19 million decrease in taxable valuation?
One of the things that, and I'm going to say this not as a negative against tax increment financing, because I think it's a valuable tool, but where it may be hurting us here is that there were a couple of years where some of the certifications were not made, and so we're playing catch up. And when we do that, then that affects the assessed valuation. And so I think it's a 1-year enigma that we'll see bounce back. And I think I said earlier today, it's a calculated assessed valuation, not a real evaluation. Some of the other things that we look at are also rollbacks. If you have a 90% evaluation versus 80%. And there's some things that they're being looked at in those regards. Some of it is outside of our capabilities.
Thank you. Does council have any questions for Phil? Or comments? Does anyone in the audience, since this is a public hearing, have any questions or comments you'd like to pose to City Administrator Rath? If not, I'd make a motion, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Resolution number 6, 2023, approving the maximum property tax dollars for fiscal year 2024. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 6, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Ordinance number 3211, 2023, an ordinance establishing regulations applicable to the use of utility terrain vehicles and amending chapters 23 and 26 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Ottumwa. Recommendation pass first consideration of ordinance number 3211, 2023.
I'd make the recommendation that we pass the ordinance with the striking of the language D2 in the 23-158 D2 that specifically talks about unplowed streets because of duplicative language.
I would second that.
Did you get that? Do we have a second to that? Did somebody second that?
I did.
Okay. Phil, you going to go ahead and speak on this?
Yes, so I'll do that, and then I'll maybe turn over to Councilman Rowe to explain the request there. So on June 13th, 2022, the governor signed House File 2031, which included changes to Iowa Code Chapters 321 and 321I pertaining to the regulation and operation of all-terrain vehicles, or ATVs, off-road utility vehicles, or UTVs, on various roadways. House File 2130 neither restricts the city's authority to designate roads for ATV, UTV use, nor requires the city designate city streets for ATV, UTV use. This created confusion regarding the legal operation of UTVs and ATVs within city limits, as the current ordinance only allows driving on frozen ponds in Greater Ottumwa Park with authorization. With the changes proposed by the adoption of House File 2130, there have been requests from the public to reconsider the city code related to the operation of these vehicles. On November 29, 2022, City Council held a work session to discuss the current ordinance and receive input related to proposed revisions to the code. City staff then worked with the city attorney to draft the proposed revisions to the code. And on January 31st of this year, City Council held another work session to review the proposed revisions and recommended a couple minor changes. Those were incorporated into the attached draft for consideration and potential adoption of the first reading. And then I'll turn it over to maybe just explain why you're requesting that again.
Sure. So in looking at in 23-518 D2 and then looking at D3 also, there seems to be, if you read through this, a little bit of confusion in the language when it's talking about snow removal, that whether they can be on the streets or whether they can't be on the streets. And I had communicated with Administrator Rath earlier today about that, and subsequently he had spoken with Christine at Allers and Cooney, and it does seem that the language here on the specific issue of snow removal and whether the UTVs can be on the streets or not seems to be duplicative language. So just removing one of those so it doesn't cause any confusion on whether or not the vehicles can be on the streets, in fact, during snow events or not.
And so the proposal was to strike D2 in its entirety and then renumber 3 and 4, I assume?
Yes. Correct.
Is there any other comments, questions from council? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Okay, so the next time you see this in, I guess, 2 weeks, it'll be corrected to format and then for the second reading as amended tonight.
Consideration for the police department to submit for a grant to pay for 50% of the cost for body-worn cameras. Recommendation: approve and authorize the Ottumwa Police Department to submit for a grant through the Small Rural Tribal Body-Worn Camera Program.
Do we have a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second. And Police Chief Arrington, I believe you were going to address this.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. The Police Department would like to request permission from the council to begin a grant application process. The city would be responsible for the purchase of 40 of the body-worn cameras, and then the grant would reimburse the city 50% of those total costs. The total cost of 40 cameras is the amount of $43,860, and we would receive reimbursement for $21,930 if we were awarded the grant. So body-worn camera program, we've been wanting to get the funds for this and get this program up and running for accountability, transparency here in Ottumwa. And I think it's going to be a great asset and tool for the police force.
And right now, the only cameras you have are in the police vehicles. So this, wearing them on the shoulders, will give a lot more added advantage and accessibility for the officers, I take it.
Yes, this unit would actually be worn in the center of the vest. Yes. It's got its own hard drive device, own audio. So it is totally self-utilizing device that no matter where the officer is, whether they're in the basement of a building or out in the middle of the timber, it'll still have the capability of recording audio and video.
Council have any questions for Police Chief Arrington?
Will you have to revise any policies after you receive those?
Since we've been implementing the Lexipol policies, Lexipol already has a body worn camera policy already ready to go. So if we do get this grant, if you allow me to apply for this grant, I do get these body cameras, I'm able to launch that policy immediately.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Police Chief Arrington? Okay, if not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Resolution number 14, 2023, approving an agreement with Interstate Power and Light Company, also known as Alliant Energy, for facilities restoration and planned services. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 14, 2023.
Do we have a motion to approve the recommendation?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Okay, Phil, I believe you're going to cover this.
Yeah, this was the item that was postponed from the last meeting. We now have the agreement, which was attached. Previously, the city had contracted with Interstate Power and Light, or Alliant Energy, for facilities restoration and planned services for the city's gas and electric facilities. With the expiration of the agreement, we've worked on negotiating a successor agreement with the provider, and it was attached for reference.
Does council have any questions for Phil? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Resolution number 16, 2023, approving and authorizing execution of amendment number 1 to the agreement for private development by and between the City of Ottumwa and HCI 52501 Investment LLC. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 16, 2023.
Do we have a motion to approve the recommendation? So moved.
Second.
Zach, I believe you're going to cover this.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The development agreement with HCI 52501 is for the Bonita Apartments project, which originally had a completion date of December 31st, 2022. There were some supply chain delays, and the project was ultimately not completed by that date. Amendment 1 would adopt a new completion date of July 1 of this year. As of February 7th, one of the 3 buildings is already finished. We learned today that the second building is going to stand for its final inspection in 2 weeks. And then we'd expect the other building to be just a couple of months after that. So should easily be done by the July 1st deadline. The electrical equipment they were waiting on finally came through, and that's going to allow the project to start moving. And the development agreement, or this amendment, doesn't change any terms as far as minimum improvements, economic development grants, or any other terms, just the completion date for the minimum improvements.
Does council have any questions for Zach?
What is the application process for these apartments? Are they just for the JBS workers?
I think that right now they're only taking applications through JBS from the employer right now. For questions about that process, though, it'd probably be better to contact the property owners directly. And I think there's a number on the sign for the development.
Thank you.
But it was my understanding that JBS wasn't going to subsidize all the units, that some would be available for other people in the community to rent. Is that not correct?
Well, I know that JBS for a certain period of time is going to pay rent if the development isn't full. And I know that they are hoping to reserve a lot of those units here at the beginning. And right now we're only looking at 36 in the first building, and they have a lot of demand. So for the investment they've put in, they're kind of getting a priority when they fill it first. So.
I think there was a percentage that they said of the apartments that they would guarantee to pay. So that still kind of left it open that they could rent all of them to JBS workers as well if there wasn't any applicants outside of JBS. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's no term in the development agreement related to who the tenants would be. And I don't think that there's anything that would prevent them from only renting to JBS employees.
Any other questions for Zach? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Resolution number 17, 2023, approving applications for residential and commercial tax abatement under the Urban Revitalization Plan totaling $736,938 and subject to review by the local assessor. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 17, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Jake, you're up.
Thank you. Good evening. This resolution approves 6 residential and 1 commercial tax abatement application, subject to review by the local assessor. There were 2 new homes, 2 new garages, and 1 space converted into a 4-unit rental, and that applied for the abatement, and the other applicants made improvement to their existing properties. The total value of the improvements is an estimate at $736,938. And just a reminder that this tax abatement is available to citywide for both residential and commercial properties.
And some of these were 3-year tax abatements, and then some were 10 and 5, correct?
Depending on the scope of the work, there's a 3-year, a 5-year, and a 10-year, yes.
Does council have any questions for Jake?
Could you explain real quick the 3 different ones and explain what would qualify for a
Yeah.
3, 5, and a 10, please?
Yeah, I have that here. So for the new residential properties, there's a 3-year 100% tax abatement. For residential historical buildings, there's a 5-year 100% tax abatement. For residential 3+ dwelling units, is a 10-year sliding scale. And then for commercial and industrial, there's a 5-year sliding scale. And that's broken into like 80%, a couple of years, then to 40 to 30, et cetera.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Jake.
Any other questions for Jake? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Resolution number 18, 2023, removing a special assessment applied to 230 South Foster on resolution number 252, 2013. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 18, 2023.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Chris, were you going to cover this?
I'll just read this one. Resolution number 252, 2013 included a special assessment for mowing at 230 South Foster. Notification was received from the Wapello County Treasurer's Office on January 27th, 2023, that the city of Ottumwa took ownership of 230 South Foster on November 25th, 2013, and the special assessment was not removed from the parcel. Resolution number 18, 2023 removes the assessment amount of $450 plus $648 accumulated interest, $5 administrative costs, and $4 publishing costs for a grand total of $1,107. The attached letter will be routed to the Wapello County Treasurer's Office upon adoption of resolution number 18, 2023.
Does council have any questions for Chris? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Resolution number 22, 2023, awarding the contract for the Lake Road Culverts Project to Rock and Load of Decorah, Iowa, and the amount of $114,575. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 22, 2023.
Do we have a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Larry, I believe you're going to take this.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. As we're developing the plans for Lake Road reconstruction, during the evaluation, 3 culverts are in need of replacement. The sizes and lengths are listed in the staff summary. Plans for the projects was posted in the normal places. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on February 1st, 2023 at 2 p.m. 5 bids were received. The low bidder is Rock and Load of Decorah, Iowa, in the amount of $114,575. As usual, we attached the bid holders list.
Council have any questions for Larry? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Resolution number 23, 2023, approving change order number 5, clerical error correction, and approving change order number 6 for the North Market Facade Improvements Project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 23, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Zach, I believe you're going to cover this.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The North Market Facade Project received a $250,000 grant, and originally the sum that was bid was, I think, $277,000. This project will work on 6 facades in the Market Street area, primarily on 2 buildings. The previous change order 5, had a clerical error related to the total project sum. The sum was not calculated correctly based on the retainage. And so this resolution will correct that and allow the mayor to sign the clerical error correction document. It will also approve change order 6. For 116 North Market, originally the plan was to use some wall outlets to provide some service for electrical at the front of the building, but the arrangement of the foundation was discovered to not really support doing that. And so this would add brushed nickel floor receptacles, which would be waterproof and would allow you to just plug in directly to the floor at the front of the building instead. But that does have a small amount of added cost. The total cost adjustment is for $1,049.25. The original contract sum was already less than the estimate of cost, and so this would still be well below budget. The city's share of that change order would be 25%. And then the rest would be borne by the grant and some possibly by the owner as well. The new contract sum would be $293,196.92.
Does council have any questions for Zach? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Resolution number 24, 2023, providing for the financial support of the Area 15 Regional Planning Commission for fiscal year 23-24. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 24, 2023.
Do we have a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Phil, I believe you're going to cover this.
Yes. This is in accordance with 1973 Articles of Agreement with Area 15 Regional Planning Commission. According to that, we're responsible for, this case, 52 cents per capita, which is roughly $13,275.08. And that is for the period covering July 1 of this year through June 30 of 2024. So it's actually our next fiscal year, next budget cycle. But we get these early, so I think they can also prepare their budget.
And just for some clarification for the public, I think it's really important that we continue to belong to the Regional 15 Area Planning Commission because they really do assist the city in writing a lot of our grants for facade improvements and other types of grants throughout the year. They've been very successful in helping us get a lot of facade improvement grants and other grants over the last several years. So they do a lot of very important work on behalf of the city. Does the council have any questions for Phil? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Resolution number 25, 2023, providing for the financial support of the Regional Planning Affiliation, RPA 15, for the fiscal year 23-24. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 25, 2023.
Do we have a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Phil, I believe you're going to cover this as well.
Yes, sir, Honorable Mayor. So similar to last, this is a partnership with Regional Planning, Area 15. They've been designated to provide transportation planning to its members, which does include the city. The city is estimated to receive $671,822 in financial support. In return, the city is requested to contribute a proportional share, in this case, $5,123 of the local match for the planning grant. The local match is 20% or $22,388.
Council have any questions for Phil? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Okay, this is the point in our city council meeting where I ask if the public would like to address any agenda item or topic that's not on our agenda tonight. Okay. The next item would be mayor or city council report or any kind of communications. I don't have a specific report to make tonight. Does council have any communications or comments that they'd like to make?
Yeah, I'd like to make just one really quick comment, and this revolves around some legislative items that are at the State House at the moment. Specifically, it's on Senate File 181 that has already passed through Senate, I believe, and has now made its way to the House of Representatives. For those that don't know what this is related to property taxes that have been collected over the past several years and was evidently collected in error from the state's part. And obviously, this goes in arrears, and budgets have been made at the local level, the school district level, and those monies have been spent at this point. And the bill specifically allows the state government to claw that back from cities, counties, and school districts. And I just want to, this is actually a good meeting to be talking about this, since we just had the max levy discussion, and we'll be going through the budget discussions here over the next few weeks. I think that this is an opportunity for the people that are listening at home to become activists on your own behalf as we go through the budget, to speak with your state representatives. You know, we've been saying, I know since I've been on city council for 7 years now, that sometimes we operate at the local level, be it the school district, the city, or the county. We operate almost at the will of the state government, and we get shackled in many ways, which ends up coming back to make the state government look great in respects, and then the local government look like the demons at the end of the day, because we have to reduce services, we have to raise property taxes where we can to make up differences. You know, we 4 or 5 years ago, we went into a concerning time for the budget because of property tax rollbacks. And now there's the potential for this to be happening all over again because the state government made a mistake. And instead of just washing that mistake away and correcting it going into the future, they're clawing that money back from all of the cities, counties, and school districts, some of which don't have that money, and they don't have the latitude in their budgets to actually to offset that. So I would urge everybody to reach out to your local legislator and, well, first of all, research this bill, and then reach out to your local legislator, because this is something, again, as we look at the budgeting process, this is going to affect the city of Ottumwa. This is going to affect Wapello County. This is going to affect the school district, and it's not going to affect it in a good way. So just be cognizant of that, and please be an active participant in the state process.
Thank you for that update, Mark. Any other comments, messages, or anything that any of the other council members would like to make? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's city council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
We are adjourned, and thank you, everybody, for attending our city council meeting tonight, and safe travels home.
Nicely done, Mark. You said it.